who helped this international, iconic businessman clinch the Republican nomination. And that makes me Donald Trump's longest serving political spokesperson. Would you all mind if I share a personal story about that? So when Mr. Trump asked me to be his national spokesperson, I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I'm a single mom, my son was still in high school at the time, and I was his sole provider, and I grew up in Texas, and I honestly could not fathom having to move to New York City. Nothing against New York City, but I'm just not wired for that. Some of you know what I mean. I love my house, I love my yard, my pool, waking up to birds. I love driving my car. And I didn't really care for sirens and jackhammers at all hours of the night. So my home, was my sanctuary, and I didn't want to give that up and be surrounded by cold concrete and have to pray that my taxi didn't reek of cigarette smoke or worse. I didn't want to have to deal with strangers who couldn't be bothered to say good morning or have a nice day. I'm a Texan. So when I asked Mr. Trump, do I have to relocate to New York City? He said, no. You're the best, and I want you to represent my campaign. He looked at Corey Lewandowski and says, give her whatever she needs. And I was not denied one single resource to be successful. So we put a remote studio in my home. So I was able to go on live television any day of the week, at any point in time in the world, on every network in the world, and so I did. Today, I'm living in Washington, D.C., surrounded by cold concrete, praying that my Uber doesn't reek of cigarette smoke or worse, waking up to sirens and jackhammers every day, but I'm loving every minute of it. Because I was there when they said, oh, that Trump campaign is just a clown show. It's not real. That escalator ride, that was a publicity stunt. Maybe he's got a new book coming out. You remember. I was there when all the pundits were parroting all the doom and gloom, and they were outright giddy because Trump couldn't get above a certain percentage in the polls. And then there was racism and sexism and misogynism and any other ism you can think of, right? They threw it at us. They attempted to paint Donald Trump with such broad strokes on a canvas of nothing but division. And if you didn't know any better, you would have been hiding under your bed thinking that there was a fire-breathing monster on the loose that wanted to eat your children, identifying as a presidential candidate. But I think Americans knew better. But today is Groundhog's Day. We have the same people singing the same song, all of the same old isms. But this time, they've manufactured what I think they believe is a triple threat. Russia, racism, recession. And when all that fails again, it'll go right back to impeachment. But with all that, my fellow Texans, I want to talk a little bit about some of this stuff, because the fake news is real. And they are depending on fear, because that's really all they have in their arsenal. And they can't compete, and none of the Democrats, by the way. I mean, look at this room. When a Trump surrogate can have more of a turnout than a Democrat presidential candidate, that should tell you everything you need to know. So they can't compete with him on policy or performance. So they have to fuel the flames of hoaxes and delusions and despair and, to capture all the headlines. That just creates more smoke to hide the fact that President Trump is winning for the American people. So, like many of you, I'm sure that you saw a lot of what I saw in candidate Trump at the time, someone that I agreed with on policy, and someone that was surely going to shake up Washington, D.C. And so I'll share another quick story. It was really funny early on in the transition. because we had to office out of the GSA building. And you could hear all of the card-carrying DC swampers, right? Whispering in the hallways, criticizing the administration and the people that the president wanted to bring in because they didn't have mountains of government experience. So we'd have a little chuckle every time somebody would say that. We're like, Donald Trump's a businessman. He wants to run the administration like a business. And I tried to tell everyone during 2016, what you see in candidate Trump, you're going to get in President Trump. And so every day, it was kind of fun to hear all this nonsense. And, you know, there's that typical go along to get along mentality. And they basically just wanted him to continue this decades-old long theory of managing the decay of the country, right? But this is different. Trump is a big thinker. He's a doer. He's a go-getter. But he was surrounded by all of the experts who really spent all their time at length talking about all of the reasons why we can't get certain things done, why we shouldn't change some of these things, or worse, you can't do that, right? Which is not even in this president's vocabulary. So we learned very early on that expert is a term used very loosely in Washington. But we get all this from Washington, D.C. It's like amateur hour for the elitists, right? They have no idea how things work in the real world. You know, the world you and I live in, not the world that the elites live in, this imaginary place in their head. And that's why they can never figure out how to get things done. But it was the same experts that you would hear throughout 2016. Ones that I would have to sit in the green rooms with and argue with at Fox and CNN and MSNBC. Remember that economist over at MIT, the fancy guy that says, oh, if President Trump is elected, the stock market's going to crash. It's going to plunge. It's over. Even President Obama said, remember this? Oh, you'll never bring back manufacturing. You'll need a magic wand for that. Well, abracadabra, baby. 6 million new jobs, including 600,000 manufacturing jobs, have come back to the United States under the Trump administration. And did you know that out of those 6 million jobs, more than half went to women? I mean, it's crazy. You won't hear that on the news. But we have more job openings today than we do have people looking for jobs. 715,400 jobs alone created in Texas. And that includes 69,400 manufacturing jobs. 5 million people have come off of food stamps. 9,000 people have been lifted out of poverty. Now, as of late, and you've seen this on the news, all the Democrats are taking credit for this Trump economy. Even Obama said, I did that, it's my economy. So then shouldn't it be equally true that the Democrats and Obama own this narrative of the looming recession? But they don't want to own that part, do they? So President Trump has achieved the strongest overall economic growth since the start of the Great Recession, and he's made sure this time that it's shared among the middle class, especially women. With unemployment holding at a steady mid-3% range, Americans are enjoying lowest joblessness rates since 1969. Women are doing even better, achieving 3.6 unemployment rate last year, the lowest female unemployment rate since 1954. African American unemployment rate is at historic levels. Hispanics also. So I'm a working mother. I'm pretty sure there's many women in this room who are working mothers. On TV, yes, the lights are terribly bright, and it's Trump super surrogate Katrina Pierson, senior advisor to the president. But at home, I'm just mom or auntie. And that's the kind of stuff that keeps you grounded. It's the moving constantly, drive me here, take me there, pick this up. No, that's the wrong flavor. I don't want it. Take it back. Why did you buy spring rolls when you know I like zebra cakes, right? You all know. Maybe mom likes Swiss rolls. But we don't really complain about that because our kids are our future.